tell me about your amateurs. Where did it start for you?
So for me, it started up.
So if I could give you sort of the next 5 years, how would you map that out? Give me 3 things. The ideal fight you'd like to have with who, where, and how long away?
Obviously.
Okay guys, it's Tubbs here from Fighters Talk TV, and today I'm here with a very exciting young prospect, Tom Welland. How are you doing, son?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
No, looking sharp, better than I look anyway. So thanks very much for coming down to our studio. It's been a real pleasure to have you here, and we're looking forward to following your career as you go. And you're just coming into the pro ranks right now, aren't you?
Yeah, but literally just signed a management deal, yeah.
Fantastic. And we're not going to go too much into that because obviously we'll wait for the official releases and news, which would be good to hear. And it'd be great to follow your career from start to finish as we do with so many fighters. And but just tell me about your amateurs. Where did it start for you?
So for me, it started at Billericay in Wickford. So I was down there. I did a little bit of boxing before with my dad. But obviously just a little bit of chain, a little bit of pads, nothing too major. But I wanted to do a little bit more. I wanted to spar, I wanted to fight, I wanted to do like the bits that came along with it. But obviously I didn't know anything about boxing. I didn't even have a pair of gloves. So the first thing for me was I went down to the boxing shop. I went and got a pair of gloves, and a bloke in there said, "Oh, I run a boxing club just round the corner from where the shop was. It was only round the corner from my house, so it was perfect." And I said then to my dad, and I was like, "Listen, if you don't take me, I'll take myself." And yeah, that's where it started from there. So then I went down to Billericay in Wickford. I was there for about a year. I think I had 7 fights under Billericay. I was 7-0, and then the sparring left. And we had a fallout with the management, and it just all went pear-shaped. It didn't go very well at all. So then from then I ended up at West Ham. I was at West Ham for 4 years. I won 2 national titles at West Ham. And again, it is a bit of a thing with amateur boxing. You just tend to follow the sparring, and the sparring was leaving, and there was sparring coming, then there was all leaving. It got to a point where there was no sparring at all. So I ended up going to Hoddesdon, and I was at Hoddesdon for about 2 years. I was at Hoddesdon with Sab, and I'd done everything with Sab. We won a national title. I went and boxed in Denmark in the HSK Box Cup. I went and won that and got the best youth. I went to the King of the Ring. I won the best youth there as well. And then I did it's called a round robin, the elite round robin. I went and done that as well against 2 European representatives. And I went there. I knocked one of them out. I went and knocked out Alvin Maruga of Sweden. I went and knocked him out. And again won best elite that time as well. And then after that I went and boxed for England against Wales at Commonwealth level. Went and boxed a Commonwealth bronze medalist in Cardiff. And I went and beat him unanimously as well. So
it's a really good sort of amateur pedigree coming in there. So there's going to be a few companies sort of chasing you around as a young prospect, as we know happens. But you then get into GB. And how did it go from there? Because you actually then went on to represent the Philippines. Yeah,
so in between the international, or before I went and boxed in Denmark and Sweden, I hadn't actually boxed internationally, so I was lacking international experience. And England called me up for the World Championship selection. So you go up to Sheffield and you go and do the selection. It's 3 or 4 boys in the country. I went in there and I thought I had a blinder. I absolutely had a great sparring session. I was well on top. I showed levels in there. But the reason they come back, the feedback I received was that I was too aggressive and that I lacked international experience. So that was when me and Sab then put a plan together, and we thought, you know what, we'll go and get the best international experience we can. So we went and done that. And obviously, I knew what England thought of me already. I wasn't on the pathway at this point. I wasn't an England squad member until after this. So I sort of knew what my reputation was at England, and I knew it wasn't the best. I really don't know why. I haven't got a clue. I didn't have any connections with England before the World Championship selection. But we went and got all that experience, and they asked me to box for England against Wales. So it was a bit like I didn't really get it. I didn't really understand it. But I went and done it anyway because I was boxing for my country and whatever after that. But then after this, the Philippines got in contact with another Filipino who went with me called Brady Cronin, and me and Brady were speaking to the Philippines quite often, and it was the 2 Olympians. We were speaking to Yumi Marshall and Carlo Paalam, and they were both saying, look, it'd be great to get you both over here. And then we spoke to the management, and they were very keen for us both to go over. So we went over there for about 8 weeks, and we went and trained with their Olympic squad. And we went over there, and it was great. They offered us a place on their Olympic squad, and yeah, it was just our graft, but it was completely different to the atmosphere at England, and it was something that it really did attract me.
See, because I think out there, Manny Pacquiao, if I remember right, actually sponsors their, or does he do that out there? Sponsor their Olympic team?
Yeah, it's a company called PSC, which is the Philippine Sports Commission. I'm not sure whether that's Pacquiao related or not, but they're the main sponsors, and they sponsor all of the Filipino Olympic sports.
Did you get to meet Manny while you were out there?
No, we didn't get to meet Manny while we was out there, unfortunately.
Well, I'm sure his time will come.
Yeah.
I know he's really quite involved with youth sports over there. A guy we work with over an American firm, he works with him, and he's really interested in youth. He's a really popular man of the people, and we've got an office over in the Philippines in Cebu, as we spoke about off camera. So we know how he's godlike, if you like, and very nice fella.
He is national pride in the Philippines. Everyone looks up to Pacquiao. Everyone wants to be Pacquiao. Everyone looks at what he's done, and they strive to achieve what he's done. He is absolutely national treasure, and the things that he's done for the people is incredible. Like funding the schools, literally funding the country, and he probably will become president.
Well, I don't think it's just that popular, isn't he? So let's take it back. So do you come from a fighting family? Was your father a fighter? You got company brothers, sisters, etc.?
I wouldn't say we come from a fighting family in terms of generational, but my dad did a bit of boxing. Nothing too literally just like the boxer-size classes, and he did have a few fights, but he was quite late into boxing, so we didn't have too many. He put me off boxing for a while. I wanted to box from a very young age, and there was a video of me at home from when I was about 3 or 4 years old. It hit in the punch bag, but it is a really doggy sport. So my dad put me off it for a little while, but when I got to the age where I could pick and choose what I wanted to do in terms of sports, then I did go down the boxing route. But my dad wasn't he wasn't really a fighter. He's a mad boxing fan. He loves his boxing, but he wasn't a fighter himself.
Like, I remember, I wouldn't want my kid to fight. I went through it. I fought, so I get that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I sort of think to myself, well, there's an easier way of earning a living than getting punched in the face 500 times a night. But what people don't realise is I'm the same. Max is similar to me. Fighting's in our blood. I can't stop thinking about it. Every day we think about it. I mean, we're lucky enough, one of the very few people, to have actually a job in this industry, and an industry we love, after being able to pull up a set of gloves. Yeah. Right? So we're but when we were talking to a manager yesterday, it gave some really, and I'd pass his advice on to you. You as a fighter have got one career. We as the media and them as managers and trainers, they got multiple careers in front of them. So if I could give you sort of the next 5 years, how would you map that out?
So obviously, then 5 years is. It's like you build your foundations first. So the first 3 years, obviously, you're going through the learning fights, transitioning from an amateur to a pro. You're working your way up the ranks. You're trying not to take any risky fights straight off. So maybe in the first year, every fight's a learning fight. You don't, and obviously I'm very young. I'm only 18, so I've still got a lot of time. I don't need to be rushed. I don't need to be pushed into anything too risky straight away. In the second year, start taking maybe a few steps up, taking boxers with winning records, and maybe going abroad, maybe doing maybe some bigger shows, maybe getting on bigger cards. In the third year, then maybe start doing 8s or 10s, depending on how I've done in the previous 2 years. And hopefully from the fourth and the fifth year, you've got to start looking at titles. You want to start looking at steps up. You want to start looking at major titles, maybe an English, a Commonwealth, a European, a British, and then we'll just move from there.
Absolutely. So you've got to sort of know exactly what you want to do in it, which is fantastic. If I could tell you, let's picture what you could do in the future. Give me 3 things: the ideal fight you'd like to have with who, where, and how long away. Obviously,
in a way, he's no stranger to the boxing world, and he's come up to super bantamweight now, which is the weight that I'll be fighting at as a championship weight. No one knows what his plans are after Stephen Fulton fight, but let's say that he stays at super bantamweight, and for when I get to world level, I'd love to fight in a way. He's already a 3-weight world champion. If he wins this fight against Fulton, he'll be a 4-weight world champion in his early 20s. So I mean, that in-away fight it was very, very attractive to me. Obviously, a big puncher, a great boxing IQ. I tend to think I'm a big puncher. I'm told I'm a big puncher. I'm told I've got a good boxing IQ. I think it'll be a great fight if I can get to world level. Obviously, in terms of time frame, I'm a long way off that fight. Let's be honest, I've not even started yet. But it's definitely one that's very attractive to me. And if he stays at super bantamweight and I get to world level and he's still there, then yeah, 100% I'll push for that in-away fight. And I'd love to do it in the UK. You've got to bring him over here.
So no MSG, no Dubai. I mean, obviously, everyone. I mean, there's 3 meccas of boxing to me, right? Your call's the first because obviously this, our home. Then you've got MSG, and then you've obviously got Las Vegas. Yeah. So I think for me, that's basically where it is. Although obviously, Dubai and Saudi Arabia are sort of coming up a bit at the moment. So, talk about how you got involved. Obviously, we know about the Philippines, but because it's on your mum's side, isn't it? The heritage is from your mum's side. Yeah. So my mum's from the Philippines. My mum's from Cebu. So obviously, being a very nationalistic, it's a very nationalistic country. My mum's always wanted to fight for the Philippines, but we didn't know how easy it was, one, to get a passport and to get citizenship, but also to get onto their team and fight for them. And obviously when they come, I mean, they came asking about us and they asked us to go over. So it was a no-brainer really, and it was not easy to get a passport, but it wasn't particularly difficult. We went to the embassy and we did what we had to do. We signed all the papers and it was done. But obviously my mum's from the Philippines and she was very proud when I went over to the Philippines. Yeah, definitely. Very, very patriotic people over there. Yeah, very. Really, I mean, as I said before, we've got about 7 staff in the Philippines and they're wonderful, always great with us. So, obviously you've got your professional contract coming up. There's obviously there's a promotional deal. We'll wait for that all to come out in the press, and that'll be really, really exciting. I mean, it'd be great for us to follow your career as starting to go from the first fight right the way up to the last fight. Stick with you and show the world what it's like. But a lot of people don't understand what a day in the life of a fighter's like. So just before you head into the pros, tell everyone what a day in the life of a fighter is for you at the moment and how much that's going to change. Because I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between amateur and a professional. It's essentially, Tony Bellew once said they're 2 individual, completely different sports, definitely. And he's absolutely right. Yeah, so definitely. What's a day in the life of you now compared to a day in the life of you once the professional contract's done? So right now, as an amateur, the amateur sport is very much just as hard graft as it is a professional. The professional game, obviously, they're getting paid 9 times out of 10. Most amateurs are doing it for nothing. We're doing it because we love fighting, because they see it as an apprenticeship before they go over. But sometimes you have to work just as hard as the apprenticeship as you do when you get the full job. So as an amateur, we was, especially in the Philippines, we was up at 5:30 in the morning. We were on the track at 6:30. We'd do our track session. We'd do either 800s, all under 3 minutes with a minute rest. So you're mimicking your rounds that you're fighting, and then we'd be done by about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Most of us would go back and sleep for a little bit, and then we'd train again at 11. We'd be either boxing tech, maybe a little bit of touch sparring, partner work, that sort of thing. And then we'll have lunch at about 1 o'clock. Then we might sleep for another couple of hours until 3, 4. And then about 4:30, 5 o'clock we'd do our evening session, which would be sparring usually, and that would in the Philippines that was our routine 5 days a week, and then Saturdays we don't do the mornings. We was doing that 5 days a week, and it was our graft, and we were at altitude. We're at 3,500 feet above sea level. It's 30 degrees. It's as humid as you get. It's as hard as you get. There's no such thing as an easy spar. I was sparring 2 Olympians and a World Championship medalist, so there's no such thing as an easy spar. Every spar is grueling. Every spar you've got to dig in. You've got to find that dog in you. But that was just the way it was. In the UK, we tend to do things a little bit differently over here. So some people like to do an easy session or like to do a morning session. Me myself, I'm not a morning person, so I'd rather do a late morning session and then again in the evening. So I usually get up. If I'm not far from a fight, I'll get up early. I'll do a run. Then I'll go again at 11 in the gym, and then again at about 7, 8 o'clock in the gym again. And then you fit your meals in between. You fit a little bit of resting in between. You fit in your recovery in between. But
obviously there's two different countries there. It's two different ways of training, two different ways of living. In the Philippines, we lived above the gym, so we just have to walk down a set of stairs and we're in the gym. It's just the way it was. You can hear, you can smell the smells of the gym. You can hear people hitting the birds. You can hear the timers going off. It is a really, really rough place where we was, and it was just, you could see it in the fighters that they breed. Every single one of them, they're fighting for their way out of the ghetto. They're fighting their way through life. Whereas here it's very, very different.
So you get a lot more opportunities here. Is that what you're saying? Can compare to over in the Philippines?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Filipinos, there's no such thing as a national championship. So they fight, they do their region, and then they fight each other. There's no such thing as a national championship. They all get put into the national team, and then every championship that the Filipinos do is an IBA. It's an IBA championship. There isn't anything domestically at all. So you have to be on the Olympic squad to get anything, to fight at all in the Philippines. Whereas here, it's there's a lot of things, a lot of box cups. There's a lot of national championships. Sometimes there's 6 championships a year in the UK. There's
schoolboys, everything, isn't there?
Yeah, schoolboys, juniors, youths, elites, plus anything you do internationally with your country. There's so many opportunities in the UK that you just can't let miss. It's completely different in the Philippines.
So also, representing 2 countries, if you like, from your heritage and everything else, and where this is going to end up. We hope for great things, but
definitely.
you got then to inspire the next lot coming through. Even the boys at Hoddesdon and wherever you've been as well before that are looking up, going, Tom's managed to, he's got there, he's made it. We want to follow him. So you're already starting to become that inspiration. Yeah,
I mean, definitely at Hoddesdon. Sab did a lot for me. After I didn't get that world championship spot, it was. It was a hard time. I didn't want to box. I was like, no, I'm done with boxing. I realised just the outside sources and the outside influences that were involved in the sport, and I thought, like, this is not what I want to be a part of. I didn't want it. And Sab, if it wasn't for Sab, I wouldn't be boxing. It's as simple as that. I was ready to put the gloves down and go and get a 9 to 5 and start my life from there. But it was Sab who really did pick me up and said, look, we've got a plan. We can bounce back from this. And we did, and it's Sab that's put me in the position that I'm in now, and it's no skin off my nose whatsoever to give something back to Hoddesdon, and to inspire the next generation, to help Sab with his shows, maybe to help in the corner every now and then, is no skin off my nose at all.
Well, I've heard of Hoddesdon obviously a lot. Denise Coe, who I know, she's over there, and I did try and speak to her about you. She was like, who's the person who's introduced you? I know Tom. so obviously I'm going to have a chat with her. She's, you're a good lad. She comes highly recommended and very highly thought of over there. So, we wish you every success in the future. We're going to love to follow you all the way throughout your career. You're welcome back here anytime you like.
Thank you very much.
But before you go, you've got to pick someone on a Legends Wall. If you could be one of them, who would you be?
Who have we got?
Well, you've got Nigel, Ben, Bruno, obviously Tyson. Joshua hasn't finished yet.
Yeah.
Bellew might be coming back.
Yeah.
And Fury, you never can tell. And Johnny Nelson, obviously. Ricky Hatton, we saw him at the weekend, and we've got Muhammad Ali on the end. If you could be any one of them, who would you be?
I think, it's a very hard decision. It's between Ali and Tyson. I'll probably say Ali because of the way that he boxed, the way that he was. It brought a new light on boxing, and it brought so many people. It probably put boxing on the map, and it really was sort of the start of where boxing really started from.
A great boxing brain.
Incredible.
And a lot of people, Nassim Hamid and obviously others, have actually tried to emulate him over the years.
You can never emulate Muhammad Ali. No one will ever be Muhammad Ali. You can't ever emulate it. You can get as close to it as you want to, but no one will have that flamboyance and that little bit of grit that he brought to the table, that little bit of boxing IQ. There's no one that will match him. And for his day, back in the 60s, there was no one like it. And even now, there's no one like it now. So
I think they always come off as cheap carbon copies, don't they? No offence, Tyson.
Yeah.
No offence, none at all. Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for coming in. And you get a chance, by the way, to join our Legends Walk today, because I'm going to get you to sign one of our boxing gloves, and up it will go across there, and everyone's going to see it. But thanks very much. Tom Welland, Tubbs here, Fighters Talk TV.